Hello, my name is Ben.
And I'm Nora.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week.
Yes. So exciting.
One could say that it could be an adventure.
Yeah.
Even.
Let's get this adventurous.
That may or may not be our word today. It actually is our word today. But before we get into all things adventure, what are you up to these days, pop culture-wise?
Pop culture?
Yeah.
We want to go see Top Gun.
Top Gun Maverick, the new one?
Yes.
And by we, you mean Anne and yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I don't really have an urge to go see it, but, you know.
I don't either. But, you know.
As we discussed last week.
Yeah.
You're kind of in the FOMO undertow.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Which is fine. I mean, it really is good because otherwise I just sit. I take my daily walks, and that would be it. Pop culture. Anne and I have been to a concert.
Okay.
But not it's our pop culture. It's
okay.
Not real pop.
Gotcha.
So,
it was more like television stuff that you've been watching lately, but last time you were watching a lot of cozy mysteries on BritBox. Is that still
yes, indeed.
Yeah, still.
And I finished some, and now I'm starting some new ones, but I can't remember what.
Okay. All right. I'm watching something that my friend Cheyenne recommended.
Yeah.
It is based on a manga series. It's called The Way of the Househusband.
Oh.
It's about an ex-Yakuza, leader who has now become a househusband. He hasn't quite left it behind in his attacking issues.
Oh, that sounds
He
good.
is notorious. Well, that's the thing. Netflix has these, and they're each episode, I think they've got 10 episodes, and each episode contains 3-4 different smaller episodes focusing on his life as a house husband. And one of the ones is he's doing some sort of work with teaching third graders, and the people that he's going to be there with are sort of, you don't know if they're in the mafia or not, know, people that he has run across or whatever. The other people say, so you want us to stencil what we want on our apron? Why would I do that? And he's like, it shows camaraderie and he's just getting all up in arms about it. And he says something about, you'll be left out if you don't have a bespoke, a bespoke apron.
Okay.
It's just ridiculous. But I would say it's kind of a one-trick pony,
Yeah.
because all the humor revolves around, and it's not really story-based. It's just a whole bunch of little him going to this.
It sounds good.
It's fun, and just
right,
one episode.
It sounds fun.
I think it's kind of a relatively new manga. Yes, published in the online manga magazine Kurage Bunch since 2018. Written and illustrated by Kosuke Ono.
Okay.
O-O-N-O. But anyway,
Uno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same pronunciation in Japanese, but I think you're right. I think it's Ono. The animation isn't it's very much Speed Racer-y in its kind of simplicity. There are a lot of stills and just mouth movements and things, but it still gets the point across.
Right.
All the adventures of this house husband who people are afraid of whenever he goes into the grocery store, and they're wondering why he's doing the things he's doing. And he's putting his, ex-Yakuza spin on it. And it's like, oh my God, that's the guy who killed 10 people before he disappeared. And, it's just like, I am now a house husband. So anyway, it's worth checking out if you want to.
Yeah.
Very short. You watch an episode, but if you watch them in succession, it's kind of like, it's the same joke over and over again. It's just, fish out of water.
Yeah.
But some of them get pretty clever. So that is what I'm watching lately.
I do have Cuphead and Mugman on my to see list.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched them yet. They're only 15 minutes each, I think. So they're little short bits.
I haven't watched the show. Maybe that's one to add to my list. especially since I just purchased Cuphead on my Mac because it was on sale, of course.
Yeah.
It is a tough game. It is very tough,
Oh.
very arcade-like in its difficulty. I'll show it to you later and we can share what you think about it, but it's really cool because it just looks like that old Walt Disney Steamboat Willie kind of comic style colorized, but it's really impressive as far as how much it really feels like it's a cartoon. Like even down to the film itself looks like they've got the little artifacts in there that kind of make the screen kind of seem sort of like you're watching a film up really close.
Oh, okay.
Pretty neat. And it's not distracting to the game when you're playing it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get into adventure.
I'm not very adventurous.
No? Why do you say that?
I never have been. I wanted to be when I was young, like a little kid. I wanted to do all the things my brothers did.
Okay.
I tried and hey, it didn't work and I hurt myself doing it. So I just kind of quit trying to do things. I just thought this in the past 10 years or something. I never broke any bones. I never did, anything like that.
I don't think you're missing out on the breaking bones thing. Let me just say that.
The reason is because I haven't done anything adventurous.
Yeah.
I haven't gone hand gliding or bungee jumping. Jesus.
Bungee jumping Jesus. That looks like that's an image.
Yeah.
All these Jesus images I never even thought of. Bungee jumping Jesus is one that's on the top of the list there. Did you ever talk to Dad about his paragliding sort of experiences at all?
Very little. I mean, we talked about his scuba diving.
Okay.
Now, what is it when you're still by the surface of the water?
If you're near the surface, I think it's snorkeling. Scuba diving is when you go deeper.
Oh, okay.
Dad did do a lot of snorkeling. And then also he did the parasailing, paragliding sort of thing too, which seems pretty adventurous. I mean, would you do that?
No, I have acrophobia.
Oh.
Kind of. I mean, I'm not afraid. I just get way off balance and would fall down if I were up high. Well, now you can fall down if you're attached to something.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's just heights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I say, it's not I just get dizzy and lose my balance when I'm up high.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting also because we talked about acronyms last week.
Yeah.
And it's not the same. Even though the game that I was talking about was acrophobia, the fear of acronyms. That's the reason why they had to say the fear of acronyms afterwards, is because acrophobia is already a thing.
Yeah, when you mentioned it, I thought, hey, yeah, I have that.
Right. Yeah, and I would say that kind of takes a lot of adventurous things out of, like roller coasters. Like that can be an adventure. Right. Have you been on a roller coaster ever?
Yeah, not one of those big heavy-duty spiral upside-down things.
Okay.
Or anything like that. Just normal roller coasters before they got all fancy.
Okay. And you didn't enjoy that experience, or?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I never felt like, oh, boy, I can't wait to get back there. Even though I'd go, sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else like that.
Ziplining's a no-no.
Does what?
Using a zip line.
Oh, zip line. No. Yeah. I might, if my arms were stronger, even though you're attached, you still have to, I might do that.
Well, they have ones where you don't have to hold on to the zip line. They're kind of like seated zip line sort of things.
I've seen something like that. Yeah.
And then there are also ones where you Superman it, where you've got this harness and you're looking over the crowd in Las Vegas or whatever as you're going down. But it seems like that would not be something you're interested in.
No.
I am always open to new types of experiences, and it would be one of those things where if it was, hey, this is being paid for you, I would definitely try pretty much anything. But there are some adventures I wouldn't, I wouldn't take, as far as like, I don't know. I'm not very adventurous when it comes to eating certain foods, like eating things that I would think are gross texture or...
But you eat all kinds of stuff.
I do, but there are things that I wouldn't eat, like moldy bread.
Yeah.
Or mold on cheese. I guess that's okay, right?
You just cut it off, yeah.
Right.
Keep eating.
Right. Keep on stuffing it down there.
Right.
But I mean, I'm thinking of more exotic sort of things, like maybe bugs or.
Oh yeah, bugs.
I don't know if I could get past the texture on those. I think, if you tell yourself that it's something else,
right,
and you don't think of what you're eating as.
Yeah. And I think, eventually maybe, I don't know, we will be eating bugs more. I'm not sure what's happening with. I don't think it'll be in either of our lifetimes that it will be necessary.
Right.
And some people do it now.
Yeah.
So
from what I've heard, they're pretty good. They're pretty good source of protein a lot of times, depending on the bug. So if it was crunchy, maybe that would be, I don't know. It would all be down to a texture thing.
You're making my teeth grind right now.
Oh, sorry. Eating bugs.
Yeah, never one of my things.
What is the most adventurous thing you've eaten?
Snail.
Snails. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got started on the snails very young.
Snail. Yes, you did.
Oh.
One snail. That was it.
You're like, okay, that's done. Cross that off the list.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was a big fan of escargot when I was a little kid.
I remember hearing that. I didn't see you eat them. I know I heard that.
Kindergarten class, that was my favorite food. I said escargot.
Yeah.
And then someone said, what is escargot? And then the teacher said, oh, it's snails. And then, of course, the obligatory.
Ooh, yeah.
Yuck. But yeah. I think escargot is proof that if you throw enough butter and garlic on something,
yes,
it is delicious.
There was a lot of butter and garlic on the one I ate, and my mind just couldn't wrap around it.
Is it that way with other, like, shellfish and things? Because I know that they have similar textures.
Nope.
No?
That's the only thing.
Huh.
Oysters are fine, but for some reason, it's like eating a slug.
Oh.
And like I imagined that after I ate that one, I imagined just a slug going down my esophagus. Ugh.
Okay.
That was the thing. It was some sort of mental image that was stupid.
I wouldn't say it was stupid. You can psych yourself out of a lot of things.
Yeah, I am adventurous with eating and with foods.
Uh-huh.
There's really not much in the way of things other than bugs that, I won't try. And I did try the snail,
For me, it's just don't tell me what it is. Or either that, or if it's something weird, tell me afterwards. And then I will tell you whether or not I like those sweetbreads or whatever.
Right.
Which I do not like. I'm not a fan of the sweetbreads.
Oh, your dad liked them a lot.
Oh, yeah. He definitely did.
By the way, everybody out there, sweetbreads are not little Danish rolls.
They're not like the Majorca bread, the sweet Spanish bread that they make.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sweetbreads, glands, right?
Yeah, where the spine connects to the brain or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which animal it is either, but don't tell me.
Right.
Let's get off the subject
Let's do that.
Eating gross things. We don't want this to turn into an episode of Fear Factor.
Right.
Or The Amazing Race. That would be a cool adventure to go on. Would you, if it wasn't for some of those tasks being gross? Like, I think it was this season's trip where two people, they reach a certain point and there's this kind of cheese that they had to eat with some really dry bread that had all sorts of bugs in it, like maggots and things. And they had to eat it before they moved on. And it was horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You could just designate me as the person to do it and I would suffer, I guess. Like I said, have you ever thought of, when I think of you and adventure, I think when you took your trip to Scotland, that's the thing that popped into my head. That seemed to me like it was an adventure based on the stuff that you did. I know you did the falconry sort of stuff, right?
Oh, that was in Wales.
Oh, okay.
That was an adventure. And your dad even thought that I wouldn't want to do it.
Uh-huh.
But they're trained birds,
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. It was a fantastic adventure.
Yeah. Just that experience with the falconry in Wales?
Yes. We had lots of birds of prey that we did. The thing with.
Lots of raptors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I got that from Dad.
Yeah.
I pick up some of the things like Phalaenopsis or whatever. I don't know these things. I just know what he called them, so I call them those things too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the peccary.
Yeah.
Did you also have adventures in Scotland?
Well, yeah, we did because my husband and I, we went to UK for a month.
Okay.
We went to Wales a little bit, but we took a week in Scotland.
Okay.
And the first part of the adventure was taking the Night Scotsman, which is a train that goes up to Glasgow.
Okay.
It's an overnight train, even though basically if you're taking a train in England, overnight means you leave late at night and you arrive before breakfast.
Okay.
You know, it's real short. They're short trips. But it was fun because we had a sleeper car.
Oh.
It was just interesting. And then we stayed in Glasgow for a couple of days and just we didn't know that much about it. We just looked around.
Yeah.
We took a train to Stirling, Scotland, where they were fighting England.
Scotland, Sir William Wallace, Braveheart.
Yeah, no. It was about it, yes.
It was one of the first war of Scottish independence.
Yeah.
One of the main leaders of that. But you said that there was a place where...
I think it's Stirling Castle.
Okay.
Or around there, yeah.
All right. You saw some interesting architecture then in Scotland as well.
Yeah, lots of it.
Lots of castles.
But we got off the train and had to take a bus. And, that was an adventure, doing that stuff. And then we got to Edinburgh and spent some time there and took a trip around Scotland.
Oh, okay.
On a bus.
All right.
A small bus tour. And we went to a distillery.
Oh.
And I'm not a big drinker, but they gave samples that were like half of an old-fashioned glass, you know.
Okay.
And it was like half full of whiskey, pure, Scotch probably. It was really good. It was really strong, but it was really good. So that was an adventure because I don't drink. 4 ounces later or whatever.
Right.
We just went around and it was fun. We went to the Isle of Skye. It was just a fun adventure.
Sounds like it. So is there anything else that you like as far as going back to Scotland?
Well, yeah. Would I go to the same places?
Probably not, right?
No, probably not. But I'd go to Edinburgh. I liked Edinburgh. Glasgow was good.
Okay. But stick to the major Scottish cities?
What major Scottish cities? Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Stick to the major Scottish cities. Those.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying there were more.
Well, there are villages. I mean, and you could probably go to some interesting villages.
There's other cities too, but I don't know why. So, Wales, when we went to Wales, that was an adventure. Your dad had 3 things planned for me to do. And one of them was the falconry. He asked me first, of course. And another one was kayaking. And I've never been kayaking.
Oh, okay.
Except, fortunately, it was raining that day. And the guy didn't do his little program, the guy that we were going kayaking.
Oh, okay. So you didn't kayak.
Correct. And I have never kayaked. It sounds interesting, but I don't know.
Where's that adventurous nature?
I have no adventurous nature. The adventures I had that I went on and that I did, I was led by someone else.
But that doesn't make them any less of an adventure, right?
Correct.
It's just initiating it on your own can be the issue.
It is.
And that's something that some people just don't get over. I'm guessing it's just like,
right.
You have to be with someone who convinces you that it's something you want to experience.
Or just leads it. Like says, okay, would you be interested in doing this? All right, I'll sign you up for it.
Right. That's something that I don't think I've ever really had a problem with, but that's possibly because, as far as my independence and being comfortable going places on my own,
yes.
It's something that I've never struggled with, because that in itself can be an adventure going. True.
When I went to Italy, I met your dad and Anne in Florence. I came at a different time. And so I flew in to Milan, which is somewhat north, and I took a train, and I took a train on purpose because I wanted to have the adventure of taking a train and,
Right.
And
right. And solve a mystery.
And Yeah, right.
Is this the
We were a
Orient
little-
Express? Is this?
Yeah. No, it's the Florence Express. Oh,
Oh,
well.
okay. Well,
But I mean, that was an adventure doing that, not knowing Italian,
Mhm.
speaking English,
Right.
knowing a little bit.
I'm guessing they didn't have a lot of people who knew English, or was that not the case?
Correct.
Okay.
I think they pretended not to.
Oh, yeah.
They're not quite, sorry, all you Italians out there. The Italians in Italy are not as pleasant as the French people in France.
Oh.
Like when you go to visit.
Okay.
And I know people make fun of French people in France, but I'll take those any day for trying to be friendly and trying to understand.
Right.
Italy was unpleasant in some public circumstances like that.
Oh. Have you ever been to Greece?
No, I have
I'm
not.
kind of curious what the Mediterranean areas stacks up against those folks.
I have no idea. I have not been. I would go back to England,
Okay.
UK,
Yeah.
and forays into France and maybe some other places by myself.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, I was planning on going to, I didn't have specific plans, but I was planning on going to London and staying there for maybe 2 months or 3 months
Okay.
and just doing all the things that I didn't have time to do before. And maybe taking some little trips, but not on a bus. I couldn't drive there.
The only reason I mentioned Scotland too.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, no, that's fine, because I mean these other things.
I kind of went off.
But those are the adventures that you had traveling that left a lasting impact.
Right,
so
right.
it makes sense. No need to apologize. I mean, I do have some of those trips that I've taken that last because it was a challenge, kind of. Like the first time I went to Penny Arcade Expo by myself. I'm not a fan of crowds. I start to get a little panicky. I've got to go outside, catch my breath. But I kind of was able to come up with a strategy to navigate that. And it was an adventure, walking to the different spots where, meet and greets were occurring. And it was very enjoyable. Yeah. But one of the places that I was going to mention that reminded me of Scotland is, have you ever used Airbnb before? Have you or Anne done those Airbnbs or no?
Anne does. I should have, but I didn't when I was in Tucson.
Oh, well, I think they're kind of hit or miss. I mean, some of them, it depends on the...
True.
You got to be very careful with who you...
I agree.
You don't want to get all Sweeney Todded up or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Just don't get a haircut. You'll be fine. So anyway, one of the things that I saw... and I saw this originally in a CNN travel article. This was a while ago. This is many years ago, probably 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But there was a person who went on a trip to Scotland to Wigtown, which is where it's the national book town of Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I thought, that would be somewhere you might, because you like books.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So, okay. So in Wigtown, this writer, Jessica Fox, who was in NASA, kind of came, to Scotland, sort of dreaming another life after living in California. So she fell in love with Wigtown and all the bookshops. And then she decided she was just going to move there to Scotland and start her own bookstore.
Wow.
So that is what she did. She thought she was the only crazy American who dreams of working in a bookshop.
Yeah.
But since she's opened up it as a Airbnb, a lot of other people want to do that. So basically part of the adventure of this vacation is running the bookshop at various hours during the day. And it's still in operation now, even with COVID. They are letting, instead of basically saying you have to run the bookstore X amount of hours, they give you options. You talk with them about, how comfortable you are, what hours you are going to run the bookshop, whether or not you are going to. But
Right.
it is basically a vacation where you're running your own bookshop.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Scotland, books, hey.
It's very well known for all its bookshops, and the listing on Airbnb, man, it's got really high marks across the boards. 4.91 is their star rating out of 5 stars for 123 reviews.
Yeah.
But it's mostly like you're living above the bookstore. That's essentially what you're doing.
Right.
Closing up shop, going to meet the people. Looks like part of the staying there, which is only, I'm guessing per person, it says $106 per night, which seems very reasonable.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And usually it doesn't seem like it's one of those places where you stay for just a night. It's probably one of those places you stay in that town for a week. That to me sounds like an interesting adventure that I would possibly go on. And I think it would be really cool, like taking the podcast to Wigtown, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that would be like meeting a whole bunch of really interesting people in Wigtown, all of which
that you
probably
wouldn't be able to understand.
Pardon?
That you would not be able to understand.
But see, Wigtown being a book town, you'll have lots of people who are there on holiday anyway, which you could understand, right? I think there is being a town, a destination for booksellers, people who love books.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of tourism there in addition to the locals.
True.
And of the reviews that I've read, I haven't seen anyone saying that it was difficult to understand the locals. But I've never had a ton of problems with not understanding certain accents.
You never, honestly, Scottish, the way the people talk, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't understand half of it. Tom did. For some reason, Tom understood all the different accents. But Tom had to tell me what people were saying.
That's one of those interesting things. One of the things that I'm always curious about the human brain is I know a lot of people who have problems with accents. Mm-hmm. People I work with have problems with accents. Even just UK English accents they have problems with.
Right.
They need to put on a translation when they're watching anything like on BritBox or whatever. Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but it's like what controls that part of the brain, and what are some of the, like, is language associated with that? Are people who have that tendency better or worse at, learning languages? Or, it just seems like an interesting thing that is so fractured between people. And some people do understand certain accents, but not others, right?
Right. Well, Tom was good at understanding all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I haven't been. It's like a CPU in your brain.
Right.
And there's input and there's output and there's a CPU. I'm sorry. People say that isn't so, but it is. Mm-hmm. And my CPU doesn't. I can take things in, but my processor has trouble processing that.
Recognition, speech recognition type things.
Yeah, but it's like a processing thing. Some people, their wires are hooked up to do that, and some people, their wires are not.
Yeah, the human brain is so fascinating.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But would you be interested in running your own bookstore in Scotland? Probably.
Yes.
Oh, even though you wouldn't be able to understand everyone?
Yeah. You bet.
Okay.
The place is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about Wigtown, but Scotland is.
I can send you the link to the Airbnb and or the CNN article about it, but it does look beautiful.
Yeah.
Just the town itself, and even the bookstore looks pretty amazing.
Wow.
If I were going there, traveling for me now has turned from something you do with someone, having an adventure with someone with you.
Yeah.
It's turned from that into, when I travel, I almost prefer to go by myself because I can choose to do or not do whatever I want. It's not like I've got to cater to someone else's, what they want to do, which is different than mine. Compromising. But that could be, compromising on what to do could also be an adventure, and you would experience something that you wouldn't normally do. Right. I would just say my tendency these days is I would rather not have that kind of friction deciding what we're going to do and just do it by myself. It's just,
I understand. But it depends on who you're with, because some people, I mean, there might be a few things you want to do together.
Right.
But then a lot of times it's just like, okay, I'm going off to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was with your dad and Anne.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of things together, but we also had days where we just all went our separate ways, and there was no problem with it at all.
Yeah. I think also nowadays with technology, it's a lot easier to stay connected in such a way that isn't intimidating. Whereas before, how do you call? Which phone do you use? Now that we have all these wonderful devices, it makes traveling a lot easier and a lot more accessible.
Right.
So going on adventures, kind of follows that.
Yeah. When you watch old films and stuff, and somebody gets stopped in the middle of a forest or in the middle of the desert, I mean, they have no recourse.
Right.
And we have lots of recourse.
Right.
So
right.
It definitely changed.
Yeah.
Technology changed things.
Just as long as you have it with you, you're good. You're in good shape.
Yeah.
Don't forget your phone at home. My friend went on an adventure, went on a safari kind of adventure with her husband. Michaela did. And she had a wonderful time. She loves the big cats.
Yes.
Is that something you've ever thought about doing yourself? Or there's certain adventures that some people would want to take and others that people wouldn't.
I never had wanted to, but recently I've been thinking, it might not be bad to do because things are in control,
What do you mean in control?
You shouldn't have to worry about being stomped by rhinoceroses or hippopotamuses.
You shouldn't?
Yeah, right. Or eaten by lions or, all that stuff.
Okay, so stay away from this film, the new Idris Elba film called Beast. Stay away from that.
Okay.
That is about a family that goes on a trip and they run into, a man-eating lion or whatever. So don't watch that if you're still wanting to go on safari. What do you think about adventures in Australia? Because I hear like every animal wants to kill you. That's what I hear. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't be super intimidated by it. I would love to go there just to experience Australia.
I think if you leave the animals alone, they leave you alone.
Right. It's not like you got flying koalas coming at you or whatever, or kangaroos trying to want to box you.
Yeah. But if you don't bother them, don't try and look and see what's in their pockets. Hey, what you got in there?
Don't pickpocket them.
Yeah.
No pickpocketing. No put pocketing. Don't put anything in their pockets either.
Right.
Don't do either.
Yeah. Could you carry this beer for me? Oh, dear.
It looks like a beer cozy, kind of.
Yeah, right. Now, I'd love to go to Australia and New Zealand and those places. It just looks wonderful. And I know there's a lot of dead outback. And by dead, I mean not a lot of cities and population-wise.
Right.
But truthfully, I would probably want to stay in the cities, see the coastline, things that are popular.
Right. Touristy kind of locations.
Yeah. And I'd love to go to New Zealand, too, because it's pretty.
Oh, yeah. For an adventure for me, if it's on a trip, I prefer cities. I don't like going on camping sort of things. And that, I would say that's an adventure, too, right? Going camping.
Yeah.
Whether you're going with just your food and you go up into the mountains. I know people who go camping here in Tucson who go up to Mount Lemmon and do, stay there and hopefully not get eaten by bears or mountain lions. But we do have mountain lions here.
I know.
We do.
I know.
Yep. And you got to watch out for them. And we do get an occasional bobcat coming down and chilling out. And we definitely have peccaries, but those aren't as fierce as far as bears or whatever.
I know there's wildlife that is not necessarily rabbits and squirrels. Well, no, they all get eaten, so you probably don't have those.
Do you think every vacation is an adventure to some extent? Do you think there are, when you take a vacation where you're going to a location?
For the most part, yes. When I'm going to Canada to the Stratford Theatre Festival thing that they have running all summer, and that's an adventure to me.
Right.
I mean,
right.
going and seeing what the city is like, and the different plays we're going to see, and
right.
that I see as an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
When we drove up to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, that was an adventure, but you know how you are about crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was staying with 8 people in one house.
Oh, boy.
And I knew Anne, and Megan came in later. I knew her.
Right.
And that it kind of just bothered me.
It was just the uncomfortable nature of being with people that you didn't know, or?
Yes. But it turned out to be fine.
Yeah.
Of course. But
actually, for me with crowds, I'm okay with the people, meeting people, right? I can meet people all day.
Right.
So the social part is not the problem. The problem is feeling like, it's just kind of, I guess, I'm not sure if it's agoraphobic necessarily, but it's sort of, wide open space. It's something that's like part of that is, if I go into a convention center with a lot of people I don't know and don't have a plan, one of the possible things that I could do in a smaller group situation is introduce myself and talk to these people, which, that's no problem. But try and do that in a convention of thousands of people.
I know.
I love new places and adventure. To me, there are varying degrees of adventure. And I think one of the key things is new experiences being part of adventure. If you're going to the same spot and the same restaurants and the same things that you did before, is that vacation an adventure? I mean, you don't know it.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't consider it as such because, you're not experiencing anything new. I think that's one of the components that's required is new experiences.
I agree.
With that, we've kind of left off the definition of adventure first, but so adventure, let's see, an unusual and exciting, typically hazardous experience or activity.
Yeah.
And then also you've got the verb. It's similar, adventuring in the wild or exploration of unknown territory, but also hazardous and exciting is 2 of the key words there.
Yeah. I agree.
I just think if it's a new thing, then, I would consider it exciting and as an adventure, but I can understand people who don't like new things too. They have to be with people to do those things.
I go both ways. I like doing things by myself that I would consider an adventure, like trotting around London, exploring by myself. But I also like doing stuff new with people. For instance, kayaking, which I've never done yet.
Right.
But maybe I should try it. And what do I want to do that alone? No. I want to do that with people.
Yeah.
Let's
go with really quick, the origin.
Yeah.
One of the cool things, one thing I do remember in the Ngram viewer is pretty steady as far as using the word adventure. A little bit of an uptick in the current generations, but it's pretty much been at the same level in books from the 1800s all the way to present day. The Latin avenir, adventurous, which is also Latin, and the Old French adventurer, which adventure is modern English. So, of course, derived from Latin by way of Old French is currently what we know as adventure. They have some other alternate sort of routes as far as this word. One of the ones that I thought was interesting, the adventurous, which is about to happen. And the original Latin avenir is arrive. So that's what avenir is, arrive, and adventurous is about to happen.
Okay. Adventure makes you feel alive.
Exactly. There's that too. New places, new things, exciting experiences.
Yeah.
When you think of adventure as a genre in movies or television or books,
Yeah.
and later video games,
Right.
what are your thoughts on a movie being an adventure movie? Or classified as an adventure movie?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, things have gotten so specific.
Yeah.
Espionage is an adventure.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a right answer here because I think adventure is too vague.
That's what I'm trying to pin it down, and I can't.
Yeah. I've been looking up a couple of movie genres. There are movies that are designed to not have an exciting story, but I think if you have an exciting story, it's an adventure because you're taking on this trip along with the people. One of my favorite movies is Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
It's not classified as one of the best movies, but it is my favorite of Tom Clancy. That to me is an adventure, but if you look it up, it's not classified as an adventure.
What is it classified as?
You know what? Let me look. I didn't anticipate you would ask me that, but... Oh, wait a second. Nope, it is an adventure. Never mind. But check this out, though. It's a submarine political thriller, action, adventure, spy, thriller, drama, action, thriller. So I guess it would be. But I mean, that's my point. What kind of movie isn't an adventure?
Yeah.
A lot of movies have a character going on an adventure or experiencing something new. Maybe some of those, like romantic comedies, but would you call love an adventure? You might, right?
I don't know. Mission Impossible. Oh, those are adventures.
Yeah. The television show or the movies?
Movies.
Yeah.
Movies. But a television show maybe too, but the movies is what I was thinking of. Yeah. There's always an adventure for each episode.
Yeah.
That you get in a tape or an envelope, whichever.
Right. Which might explode. Or, sorry, it might self-destruct. Or it will self-destruct. It definitely will self-destruct in whatever minutes. Why do they always accompany it with audio? That's what I don't understand. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. And it's like, okay, thanks, I guess. Here's another question along the lines of adventure in movies. Can you have an adventure movie without action? I mean, because it seems like those...
How can you have a movie without action?
There has to be some sort of action. The reason I'm saying that is also action a vague sort of classification?
Of movies, yeah. Beyond normal.
I don't think you would ever call When Harry Met Sally an adventure. I mean, would you?
Some people might. I wouldn't, no. And there's other like psychological things, how this person thinks about that person, and and how that goes on. And it isn't what would be classified as an adventure.
Right. It would be like more of a thriller, right? Maybe?
Possibly. Yeah.
Any of these genres, in the end, it really doesn't matter as long as it provides an interesting story. Tell me what, I mean, adventure, way too vague. Action tells me what kind of things I'll be seeing. Will I be seeing lots of stunts? Will I be seeing lots of movement? And then the psychological piece is the thriller piece or the suspense piece or,
Right.
Do you have a favorite adventure movie?
No, because I'm not a big movie person anymore. I used to be.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to think even old movies. Well, the James Bonds were always good.
Yeah, the James Bond movies. Yeah.
Even though there was spy. I mean, it was a spy thing, of course.
Yeah.
But it was still, the spy part was vague. I'm sorry. It was vague.
Right.
And so it was just one big adventure after an adventure. So those are...
Definitely. You can do things like Star Wars, which is a kid goes on an adventure, which we've talked a lot about, so I'm not going to mention that.
Yeah.
I just did. Okay. Indiana Jones is one of the ones that pops into my head, too.
Oh, of Of course.
That's definitely like your, action serial kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Princess Bride is an adventure.
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale adventure.
Right.
I question some of these selections on this list of...
Adventures.
It's a 16 essential adventure movies list. Alex Vo, obviously a writer on the Rotten Tomatoes website, composed this list. And he goes in sequential sort of order as far as oldest to newest.
Okay.
So like things like Three Musketeers, Robin Hood, Wizard of Oz, Gunga Din.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that I don't agree with them. I just don't think they should be on this list.
Oh, okay.
Like The Mummy. I didn't think...
Oh.
Did you watch The Mummy?
The old one?
No.
Like from the 30s?
No, from 1999, starring Brendan Fraser.
Oh, good God. No.
The thing that sprung forth the Scorpion King, which The Rock played in the Scorpion King things.
Okay.
Oh, there's National Treasure. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a classic Nicolas Cage movie. I just wanted to sort of touch on any of these movies in this list seem to be like, okay, yeah, that's obviously an adventure. If you're taking someone on a journey, it's always going to be an adventure.
But all of them have action adventure that the kind of thing when you see an adventure action, you never think of the Wizard of Oz.
No.
However, if that is an adventure, I don't know what is.
Yeah. When I posited the question, can you have an adventure without action? That's definitely the Wizard of Oz. I mean, there is...
Well, there's some action. It's just not the action you guys are used to.
You guys?
Yeah.
What do you mean, you guys?
Generation X and beyond.
How? The house falling on the witch? I mean, I don't know what you mean by...
Well, there's flying monkeys and...
Yeah, of course. Today's day and age, that's not anything new.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's not too
flying
not too
monkeys.
Exciting.
They did have action scenes, but I wouldn't call it an action movie based on the flying monkey scene or when they're coming to
Oz.
They're going to Oz, but the Wicked Witch is trying to stop them, right?
Right.
I would call that more just a straight up adventure. There are action sequences in adventure, but that wouldn't make it an action movie, I don't think.
Right. I agree. It's an adventure, not so much action. Yeah.
And let me just say, these are all up to the individual anyway. It's not like we're the arbiters of what is an adventure and what isn't. Adventure means different things to different people, like words do. Do you want to talk about video game adventure?
Yeah. Let me tell you how adventuresome Cute Cats is.
Well, no. Okay, so we talked about an adventure game that you were playing that is called Broken Age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is an adventure game.
Yes. And it is a genre of adventure game which came from text-based adventure games, which is basically it's called point and click because that's what you do. You point and... Yeah. Point and click adventure games. You have to solve puzzles. And is that the first game of that type that you've ever played before? Do you think?
As far as I remember, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As someone who's new to that kind of game, is that something that you enjoy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do. I like the story. I like everything. Trying to remember which direction to go or which path to take sometimes is a little confusing.
Yeah.
But but it's I'm interested in the characters, invested in the characters. But I am,
Yeah. And let me just say, one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games is a game that's included in that pack that I got for you called Day of the Tentacle. And I remember when I got that game back in the early 90s, boy, it was just so much fun. The humor was amazing.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that I could not put down. Once I solved it and I finished the story, I played it again and again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's my next one.
Okay. Yeah.
When I finish Broken Age, I'm going to do that.
I would say that that's the one to play next. Definitely.
Yeah. When you talk about games and all this gaming and stuff, my imagination goes to laser guns and, automatic weapon laser guns, whatever. And all this shooting people and get all that. And the point and click, it's like, boy, I didn't know that was like in gaming. That's fun and kind of easy.
Yeah. Games don't have to be about shooting. Even things that are in, well, to some extent, in first-person perspective can be about solving riddles, and it's not about just shooting things, right?
Right.
It's not all lasers and shooting. There are a lot of excellent stories that are told that have varying levels of difficulty when it comes to navigation, and they've kind of merged them together. There are action elements in games. There are role-playing elements in games that are adventures, and point and click, I thought, was an excellent sort of entry point if I'm going to groom you to play something like the killing people by making them slip on a banana game.
Yes.
The Hitman games. I mean, this is something you need to understand, I think.
Right.
You can shoot people in that game. There are weapons.
Right.
But that's not the point of the game. It's more of a stealth blend-in kind of game, which is part of the adventure, which is you're trying to eliminate these people in a creative way and not get into any kind of altercation shooting people.
The introduction that you have given me is really good because it is like, hey, I can play these.
Yeah.
And you work your way up, and next thing you know, I'll be some psychotic little kid in a camp learning how to kill people.
You were going the way of Psychonauts, which is another.
Yes.
It's psychic. It's not psychotic. It's a psychic. It's the psychic summer camp.
Well, okay.
And he gets his psychic merit badges and solves his, Tim Schafer, Double Fine Games, who has the licenses on all those games that you're playing, made his start at LucasArts Games and actually contributed to all of those games in that list to some extent. That was kind of where his game design started, was doing point-and-click adventures. But I think that's, as far as a way to develop story, that's a wonderful way to have a game, to write a story for a game.
Right.
You can almost create the mechanics based on the story.
Yeah. It's kind of like reading a book. I mean, in a way, it's reading a book, except that you get stuck on a page for a long time. But you still...
That's because you're not using the rotten egg with the tweezers and the llama. You know,
right?
You gotta remember, if you use the tweezers and the rotten egg with the llama, you're all set.
Right. Let me write that down right now.
That is made up. Part of it is the trying to figure out what the puzzle is and how to solve. Sometimes those games, it can be tricky to know what your next step is. But if it's well written, it's pretty obvious. The thing that I think of in a game, when I say adventure, we talked about it last week a little bit, the Colossal Cave Adventure, or maybe a couple weeks ago. But it was a game that I played that Dad brought home from school on his. When the Atari 2600 came out, a developer by the name of Warren Robinette, he developed this game Adventure, which was an environment where you're trying to find a magical chalice.
Okay.
Your enemies were primarily different dragons and a bat. Or different ducks and a bat. Because the dragons in this adventure game, because it was on the Atari 2600, looked like a duck. I need to send you the picture of it, but anyway, this was like conceived as a Colossal Cave Adventure, but your joysticks would be whether or not you went east, west, north, south. And it's pretty much the same type of idea. You're trying to get through a dungeon, figure out where to go to get your weapon and slay the dragon so you can bring the chalice back to the castle. In very basic fashion. It's like one of the first adventure games that wasn't text-based like Colossal Cave was.
Yeah.
It is considered to be the first action-adventure console fantasy game because of how, you think about the games that came before that on various systems, Pong, right?
Yeah, right.
There's no story to that, but this has a sort of a rudimentary fantasy story involved in it. If you can use suspension of disbelief that a duck dragon, a dragon duck thing.
Right.
I want to say it was 1978 it was
Wow.
released. No, it was released in 1980. Sorry.
Okay.
1980.
That's so wow.
Yeah. If you see pictures of it, it definitely doesn't look like games do nowadays.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it is also the first game that is credited with having an Easter egg.
Oh,
Are you familiar with the concept of an Easter egg?
yes.
Okay.
More than I used to be.
Right. In your own words, what would you say an Easter egg in a game or a movie is?
Something that you might not expect to be there, something that might refer to some previous movie or previous series, but and it shows up for a short time. It's not anything that's, you just have to know it's in the background. There's that,
right,
whatever. Yeah,
it's hidden.
Yeah.
Well, here is an interesting thing about this game and where that term Easter egg came from. Back in those days, people who developed games for Atari were not given credit, nor were they getting royalties. So they basically create the game for Atari, and they own it, and there's no credit given to them anywhere.
Right.
This is also something, I don't know what the conversion factor is, but they were making at Atari to create games $22,000 per year without royalties, which even...
Wow.
Yeah, which seems kind of low.
Right. I have heard that some of the game companies are real taskmasters.
Especially in a new market back in those days. So much so, in fact, that there were people who worked there who basically left, these folks being David Crane, Larry Kaplan, Alan Miller, Bob Whitehead, and started Activision.
Oh, okay.
And so they started making these third-party 2600 games, which competed against Atari, but each game actually had the creator on it, skiing by blah blah blah, or whoever. So that's kind of what they were founded on, is giving people the credit for the games that they created, which is really cool.
Good. Yeah.
But back to the Easter egg thing. Warren Robinett created a message about who created the game.
Okay.
Was from him.
Good.
Created by Warren Robinett was the message. After the game was released, Adam Clayton, a 15-year-old from Salt Lake City, Utah, discovered this hidden message, and he sent a letter to Atari. I don't know why, but he sent a letter saying, "Hey, what is this right here? I found your secret message, really cool," or whatever. At the time that they received the letter, Robinett had already quit the company, so he didn't get any kind of notification about this letter through Atari.
Okay.
Once that happened, the Atari executives who had that, there's no one, you're a part of the company or you're not part of the company. Yeah. How do we remove that? The person who was hired to fix it said that the code was written in such a way that if you were to fix it, and these are in the days where, you had to re-release the cartridge, right? You produced the cartridge, you sent it out, and you sent it out in the condition it was in. There was no updating these things.
Yeah. Right.
You would fix it, but it was written in such a way that it would say in the game, "Fixed by Brad Stewart." If he had fixed it, that's what he would have changed the name to. And I think that was part of the code, which is really kind of interesting.
It's great. Cool.
Steve Wright, the director of software development at Atari, was arguing about retaining the message, and his side was it could give players additional incentive to find things in their games. Therefore, if we had all these Easter eggs. So that is where the term was coined, is from Atari. Yeah. And this first thing is like, well, let's start doing this in all of our games where we put something that's secret and hidden. From that point forward, it was part of the design to put an Easter egg in every single game. And I remember seeing one or two of them. I played the 2600 Indiana Jones game, and I seem to I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was one of those things where you had to go through a whole bunch of sequences that unlocked a hidden wall, and it didn't really make sense. But the first Easter egg in the first adventure game.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of a cool story.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I don't know if we need to go into any more of what the other types of adventure games there are, because, there are elements in adventure games, the one you are playing included, where you're puzzle solving, you're gathering items, you're doing all sorts of things. Some dialogue trees occur.
Literally.
Yeah.
A vomiting tree. Is that what you... No, I know.
It's like the... did you ever see The Three Amigos?
I may have, and I don't remember
There was this... Yeah, it was Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase.
Oh, okay.
But there was a thing where they were trying to find this town, and they were given directions, and they had to go to the singing bush.
Okay.
Which was singing in a very annoying tone, "She'll be coming around the mountain." So as they were arguing about, what they do next, one of the characters ends up accidentally shooting the invisible swordsman, which was part of the directions. But anyway.
Okay.
So just don't shoot the invisible swordsman and you'll be fine.
Right.
But yeah, and it also, I want to say, like, games where you're exploring or being taken on a journey that you haven't experienced before, I think those are all adventure games. So to some extent, all games that involve story are adventure games.
Yeah. Learning to play some of these games is an adventure to me.
In itself, yeah. Trying to figure...
It really is.
And like I said, I'm trying to kind of build you up to the 3D environments because they are kind of mind-blowing when you first start playing them. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, really? But anyway.
That's what my mind thinks. Oh my gosh, really? Yeah.
So you'll continue on your adventure of learning about video games, and I will continue my adventure of putting out my podcast weekly, and then we'll be great. Yeah.
That's quite an adventure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was, let me just say, and when I started it last year, I recognized it as such. It's, it's a hobby, but it's also something I've never done before. And, it was an adventure in itself. I think if you make something an adventure, it feels more satisfying when you complete whatever it is that you're doing,
I'm thinking of some other things that I used to make jewelry, not heavy duty, but jewelry. And back in the 70s, I used to go to art fairs.
Uh-huh.
That was an adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking of setting up my whole thing.
Yeah.
And two of them were juried. You couldn't get in unless you had pictures and stuff to show them.
Right.
What an adventure that was, really.
Yeah.
So that reminds me of your podcast.
It's a new experience.
And you're putting yourself out.
Exactly.
In the world, yeah.
Right. For my one listener.
Who still listens, but...
But now she's on the show occasionally. Yeah. But anyway, thank you, Norah, for joining me on this show about adventure. I hope you feel like you were on an adventure.
An adventure.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's Too Vague podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Norah.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.